The sound of Chuck Taylors hitting the pavement and the sway of palm trees in the breeze are the backdrop to a story that embodies the very essence of LA's street culture. Discover the gritty reality of life in the midst of rival Bloods and Crips gangs, and how one young man's love for music helped him transcend the violence and pain of his surroundings. Creep with me on these LA streets that take us through the back alleys to give you the raw and unfiltered journey of Snoop Dogg, as we uncover the captivating story of how a boy from Long Beach rose to become a hip-hop legend. What up fam? I'm Stan and welcome to Rap Tales Rewind. This is our 90s hip-hop legends series, where we'll be covering the top 10 MCs of the 90s in 10 videos. Before we dive into Snoop's story, I just want to take a moment to ask you to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Calvin Cortazar Broadus Jr., better known as Snoop Dogg, was born on October 20, 1971, at Los Angeles County Hospital, in Long Beach, California, to Vernell Varnado and Beverly Tate. His father, a Vietnam War veteran, singer, and mail carrier, left the family when Calvin was only 3 months old, and he was subsequently named after his stepfather, Calvin Cortazar Broadus Sr. Despite his mother's efforts, Calvin, nicknamed Snoopy, due to him looking similar to the Peanuts cartoon character, got involved in unlawful activities and joined gangs during his teenage years. During the 1980s and 1990s, when Snoop Dogg was growing up in Long Beach, the city was heavily affected by the crack epidemic, which was a devastating period for many inner-city communities in the United States. The crack epidemic led to increased drug-related crime, gang activity, and violence in many neighborhoods, including the East Side neighborhood where Snoop Dogg was raised. The East Side neighborhood of Long Beach was known for its gang activity, with the Rollin' 20 Crips being one of the most prominent gangs in the area. Snoop Dogg, like many young people in his community, became involved with the gang as a way of finding a sense of belonging and protection. The Rollin' 20 Crips were known for their violent activities, including drug dealing, robbery, and murder, which were fueled by the crack epidemic. The Rollin' 20 Crips were a notorious African-American street gang that originated in the East Side neighborhood of Long Beach, California. They were one of the many Crips gangs that emerged in Los Angeles during the late 1970s and early 1980s. The gang was known for its involvement in various criminal activities, including drug trafficking, robbery, and violence. The Rollin' 20 Crips, like other Crips gangs, operated under a hierarchical structure with a set of rules and regulations. They had their own distinct culture, including specific colors, blue, and hand signs, A, C, formed with the fingers, to represent their affiliation. The gang had a strong sense of loyalty to their territory and engaged in violent activities to protect their turf and maintain their reputation. During the 1980s and 1990s, when Snoop Dogg was growing up and the crack epidemic was at its peak, the murder rate in the East Side neighborhood of Long Beach was high. Gang violence, including shootings and homicides, was rampant in the area, and the Rollin' 20 Crips were known to be involved in such violent activities. The exact murder rate during that time can vary depending on the specific years and sources, but it was a period marked by high levels of crime and gang-related violence in the area. Snoop showed early signs of his musical talent, singing and playing piano at church and rapping in school hallways, drawing large crowds. Teachers thought the commotion in the school halls were due to fights breaking out. After breaking through kids packed shoulder to shoulder, they would realize they were all just trying to hear the rhymes coming off the top of the young Snoopy's head. These moments even left Calvin mystified with himself recognizing a gift. During these times, Snoop and his cousin, the late great Nate Dogg, found themselves in the same high school and would collaborate in classes with Snoop banging on tables, creating a beat for Nate to sing to. Snoop also has cousin and 3 WWE champion Sasha Banks. Warren G was also always there for the Dogfather. These two were knee-high together and always had each other's back, and through their years, Snoop played the peacemaker between Nate and Warren. Nate Dogg, a rapper and singer known for his collaborations with Snoop Dogg, Warren G, and other West Coast hip-hop artists, passed away on March 15, 2011. He was 41 years old at the time of his death. The cause of death was complications from multiple strokes that he has suffered previous years. Rest in power. Snoop Dogg was kicked out of his family home when he was 17 years old. According to Snoop, he had gotten into an argument with his mother, and things escalated to the point where she asked him to leave. This left Snoop in a difficult situation, as he was essentially homeless and had to find ways to support himself. During this period, Snoop turned to various illegal activities to make money, including selling drugs and participating in gang-related activities. He also started to focus more on his passion for rapping and began performing at local talent shows and freestyle battles. Despite the challenges he faced during this time, Snoop was able to stay focused on his goals and eventually caught the attention of influential people in the music industry, leading to his breakout success in the early 1990s. There are a few notable talent shows and freestyle battles that Snoop Dogg participated in during his early years as a rapper. One of the most famous talent shows was the Roll Call radio show hosted by Greg Mack on KDAY, which was a popular hip-hop station in Los Angeles at the time. Snoop, who was still going by the name Snoop Rock at the time, won the show's weekly freestyle competition several times, which helped to boost his local profile. Another notable event was the 1990 Rollin' 20 Crips, Snoop Dogg, Bad Ass talent show, held in Long Beach, California. This talent show featured performances from various local rappers and was attended by members of the Rollin' 20 Crips, including Snoop and his friend and fellow rapper, Lil 1/2 Dead. There were also various freestyle battles held at local clubs and parties, where rappers would take turns improvising rhymes in front of a crowd. Snoop was known for his ability to freestyle and would often participate in these battles, honing his skills and building a reputation as a skilled MC. Overall, these early talent shows and freestyle battles were crucial in helping Snoop to establish himself as a rising star in the Los Angeles hip-hop scene. However, he frequently ran into trouble with the law as a member of the Rollin' 20s Crips gang in Long Beach. He was arrested for selling cocaine to an undercover cop shortly after graduating from high school. He spent the next 3 years in and out of jail, including a stint at Wayside Jail. During this time, Snoop, along with his cousins Nate Dogg and Lil 1/2 Dead, and friend Warren G, recorded homemade tapes as a group called 213, named after their native Long Beach area code. Snoop Dogg was originally connected with the West Coast rap group Above the Law before he was introduced to Dr. Dre and joined Death Row Records. In 1989, Above the Law signed with Ruthless Records, which was owned by Eazy-E. During their time at Ruthless, the group played a significant role in pioneering alongside NWA. Their debut album on Ruthless, Livin' Like Hustlers, included a guest appearance from NWA and was produced by Dr. Dre. Cold 187 a member of Above the Law, collaborated closely with Dre on production, and the two had a strong influence on each other. The songs, Untouchable, and Murder Rap, were minor hits from the album, with the latter appearing in the 2008 film Pineapple Express. Freedom of Speech was also featured in the 1990 film Pump Up the Volume and its soundtrack. Snoop was waiting 4 months, as he said on Big Boy TV. Then finally he was shown a beat on a Friday, but he was told he would have to wait until Monday to record on it. He was excited to finally be getting a chance to lay some words on a beat. The next day, Dr. Dre and his stepbrother Warren G were at a party when the music got cut, and in this moment, Warren played Dre some Snoop and the doctor had a vision. From there, phone calls were made and Snoop dropped everything and went with Dre. In 1992, Snoop Dogg began recording under the name Snoop Doggy Dogg, and Dr. Dre started working with him. They first collaborated on the theme song for the movie Deep Cover and then on Dr. Dre's debut solo album The Chronic, along with other members of their former group, Da Dog Pound. This exposure helped make Snoop Dogg's debut album, Doggy Style, released in 1993, a commercial and critical success. The album's singles, Who Am I?, What's My Name?, and Gin and Juice became top 10 hits in the United States. Despite being criticized for violence and misogyny, Snoop Dogg's softer vocal style distinguished him from other gangsta rappers. Snoop Dogg's performance with Dr. Dre on the Soul Train Awards in 1994 was a defining moment for the young rapper. The performance marked Snoop's first major appearance on national television, and it helped to propel him and Dr. Dre to even greater fame and success. During the performance, Snoop and Dre performed their hit single, Nothing But A.G. Thang, in front of a live audience, with Snoop delivering his trademark smooth flow and effortless charisma. The performance was widely praised for its energy, style, and attitude, and it helped to solidify Snoop's reputation as one of the most exciting and talented rappers of his generation. Following the Soul Train Awards performance, Snoop continued to work closely with Dr. Dre, releasing a string of classic albums and collaborating with other West Coast hip-hop artists like Warren G, Nate Dogg, and Da Dog Pound. He also became a cultural icon, known for his laid-back style, his love of weed and gin, and his unapologetic attitude. Snoop Dogg's debut album, Doggy Style, was released on November 23, 1993, under Death Row Records, a label founded by Suge Knight and Dr. Dre. The album was an instant success, debuting at number 1 on the US Billboard 200 and selling over 800,000 copies in its first week. It has since been certified quadruple platinum by the RIAA. The album features several hit singles, including What's My Name?, Gin and Juice, and Doggy Dog World, and is considered a classic of the West Coast hip-hop genre. Gin and Juice was particularly popular and earned Snoop Dogg a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Solo Performance in 1995. Despite its commercial success, Doggy Style was also controversial due to its explicit content and references to violence, drugs, and sex. Some critics and organizations called for a boycott of the album, and it was banned in several stores and countries. In addition to its sales success, Doggy Style was also critically acclaimed, receiving high praise for its production and Snoop Dogg's smooth flow and delivery. The album was included on several Best Of lists, including Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. On August 25, 1993, Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard McKinley Lee, also known as Malik, were driving in a Jeep with 2 other passengers when they encountered a man named Philip Woldemariam and his group of friends near a local park in Los Angeles. Woldemariam was a member of a rival gang, the By Yourself Hustlers, and had a verbal confrontation with Snoop and his group, but no violence occurred. Later that night, Snoop and his entourage returned to the same area and saw Woldemariam and his friends again. Snoop and Lee got out of the car, and an argument ensued between the two groups. According to Snoop, he saw Woldemariam reaching for what he thought was a gun, and Lee fired 2 shots at him, killing him. Snoop and his entourage went into hiding for 4 days after the shooting, but Snoop eventually turned himself in to the authorities. Despite the controversy surrounding the trial, Snoop's music career continued to flourish, and he became one of the most successful and iconic rappers of all time. The trial was a highly publicized case that took place in 1996. It was held in Los Angeles, California and lasted for several months. Snoop Dogg, whose real name is Calvin Broadus, and his bodyguard, McKinley Lee, were charged with first and second-degree murder in the shooting death of a man named Philip Woldemariam. The shooting occurred in August 1993, outside a Los Angeles area convenience store. During the trial, Snoop Dogg and Lee claimed that they acted in self-defense and that Woldemarion had threatened them with a gun. However, the prosecution argued that the shooting was premeditated and that the victim was unarmed. The trial was a highly publicized event, with many people following the case closely. The defense team, led by famed attorney Johnny Cochran, argued that Snoop Dogg was being targeted because of his celebrity status and his connections to the gang lifestyle. Cochran also argued that the prosecution's case was built on shaky evidence and unreliable witnesses. Ultimately, Snoop Dogg and Lee were acquitted of all charges. The jury found that the shooting was in self-defense and that the prosecution had failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. And there you have it, the story of Snoop Dogg, from his tough upbringing to his rise through the underground rap scene and his eventual success as a global superstar. Despite facing numerous challenges along the way, Snoop has remained an icon in the industry, inspiring countless artists and fans alike. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more hip-hop videos here on Rap Tales Rewind. This video was just one video as part of our 90s Legends series, where we will be exploring the stories of 10 90s legends in 10 videos. And as a final note, it's worth mentioning that Snoop achieved all of this while smoking a blunt.